You must never so much think as whether you like it or not, whether it is bearable or not. You must never think of anything except the need and how to meet it. Clara Barton.
During the Civil War, it was thought the battlefield was no place for a woman, but Clara Barton changed society's view. Known as a battlefield angel, she brought supplies and medical support to battlefields all across the United States. After the Civil War, she continued to lead relief efforts not only during times of war, but in peace as well. She led the way for the American Red Cross, a legacy that continues to help millions of people. Despite not being a certified nurse, she brought vital support to the wounded Union soldiers.
At the young age of 11, Clara gained first-hand experience with nursing when her older brother David fell ill with a fever after a farming accident. For 2 years, Clara stayed by his bedside, tending to his every need. Physicians of that region had limited knowledge of treatments besides bloodletting and blistering, so Clara learned how to handle the leeches, dress the blisters, and to follow the directions for his medicines from the physicians and administer them.
By the time David recovered, Clara had been tending to him for 2 years and had a basic understanding of these treatments. This dedication and commitment were just 2 examples of the years of leadership yet to come.
During her youth, one popular field of science, which has since been discredited, was phrenology, the science of character divination by the study of bumps on one's head. The Fowler brothers were 2 famous phrenologists who traveled giving lectures and performing demonstrations.
While lecturing in Oxford, Massachusetts, they boarded at the Bartons' home. While there, the brothers studied the bumps on Clara's head and told her parents, "She will never assert herself for herself. She will suffer wrong first, but for others she will be perfectly fearless. Throw responsibility upon her. She has all the qualifications of a teacher. As soon as her age will permit, give her a school to teach."
At the age of 17, Clara began teaching at the local school. She taught for almost 12 years before deciding to continue her personal education at Clinton Liberal Institute in Clinton, New York. She studied there for a year, then moved with a friend to Bordentown, New Jersey.
While in Bordentown, Clara saw a need for education. Although laws already existed for free public education in New Jersey, most education was fee-paying. Free schools were judged to be pauper schools, and those who did not attend private schools tended to remain uneducated. Clara took the initiative to create a free school. On the first day of school, only 6 students showed up for class, but by the end of the year, Clara had over 200 children enrolled in her school. The people of Bordentown were so impressed they spent $4,000 to build a new school. When the school opened in the fall of 1853, Clara learned she would not be the principal of the school she had started. Instead, a man was hired and was being paid twice her salary.
Clara resigned, saying, "I may be sometimes willing to teach for nothing, but if paid at all, I shall never do a man's work for less than a man's pay."
She then received an opportunity to work as a copyist in the patent office in Washington, D.C. She was the first woman to hold a government post like this. She continued to hold this position until April 1861 when the Civil War broke out. Union soldiers were mobbed by Confederate supporters in Baltimore, Maryland. They were then transported to the new U.S. Capitol building nearby. Clara rushed to the makeshift hospital to help care for the wounded soldiers.
With nearly 40 new patients, the hospital didn't have enough nurses to care for all the soldiers. Clara put on an apron and helped by dressing the boys' wounds, reading them the news, and writing letters to their parents. After this, she visited the uninjured soldiers who were famished because the military had not unpacked their stores.
Clara made a trip to the nearby market and bought baskets of food and had them brought to the Capitol. She then began collecting food, clothing, medicine, and other supplies to give to the soldiers by advertising in newspapers and writing to friends and family. Clara had to rent new quarters to hold all the donations she received. Her foresight to gather supplies would gain her access to the world of war.
War was costly, and the supplies of arms, ammunition, and medicine were dwindling. Clara Barton told Colonel Rucker that she wanted to go to the front. He told her it was no place for a woman. When she told him of the warehouse full of items the Army could use, he obtained the necessary clearance from Washington. Her first battlefield experiences were at Culpeper and Fairfax Station, Virginia, in July and August. She described her work over the next 3 years as lying anywhere between the bullet and the hospital.
She used her personal funds to buy desperately needed medical supplies, served food, extracted bullets from the wounded, and held the hands of the dying. During the Battle of Antietam, the bloodiest battle of the Civil War, she assisted at surgery using green corn leaves to dress wounds when they ran out of bandages.
Even though they worked all day, at night the battlefield was still covered with wounded soldiers. The surgeons confessed they had no candles and wouldn't be able to continue work until daylight. Hundreds of men would have perished by that time, but Clara Barton brought bundles of candlesticks and 30 lanterns for them to use.
The chief surgeon she was assisting wrote, "In my feeble estimation, General McClellan, with all his laurels, sinks into insignificance beside the true heroine of the age, the angel of the battlefield." While Clara Barton specifically helped the Union soldiers, she also tended to the wounds of the Confederate soldiers. She helped everyone that needed it, whether they were friend or foe.
After the Civil War, Clara Barton received letters from family members and friends of the soldiers wondering if she had helped their brothers, sons, husbands, or friends. Realizing the need, Clara went to Senator Wilson with a plan to create a Missing Soldiers Bureau. As a true humanitarian, she asked for no compensation.
In February 1865, with President Lincoln's approval, she and a few assistants established an office in Annapolis where they worked to locate missing soldiers. Clara Barton contacted newspapers, visited prisons, and looked at the death logs, and gave over 300 lectures to promote the work. As she ended her work in 1866, she had located over 22,000 missing men.
After the heavy strain of her traveling, Clara suffered a breakdown. She traveled to Europe on the advice of her doctor. While there, Clara learned about the International Committee of the Red Cross, which was given official status after 12 European countries signed the Geneva Treaty in 1864. The term stated that wounded soldiers of future wars, as well as ambulances and sanitary personnel of both belligerent and non-combat countries, were neutralized under the emblem of a red cross on a white background.
Clara Barton wanted to align her country with this effort, but at the invitation of Dr. Louis Appia, she took part in the Franco-Prussian War with the Red Cross Committee. She established a workshop in Strasbourg where women victims of the war could support themselves by sewing garments. Clara also distributed funds provided by the American Relief Committees in Paris and other French cities. After suffering another breakdown, she spent most of 1872 in England and returned to America the following year.
Barton's ill health continued, so in 1876 she moved to Dansville, New York to follow a cure at a local sanitarium. This hindered her early efforts to start an American branch of the Red Cross. She worked for nearly a decade for the American government to sign the Geneva Treaty. Clara also tried to enlighten the public through her pamphlet, The Red Cross of the Geneva Convention, what it is.
Her persistence paid off, and on March 1, 1882, President Arthur signed the Geneva Treaty, and 2 weeks later, the Senate ratified it. Meanwhile, in May of 1881, Clara Barton and a few associates had organized the American Association of the Red Cross. The Constitution provided for an executive committee and a board of consultation headed by the President of the United States. Clara Barton was chosen as president of the executive committee.
In 1900, after years of effort, Clara Barton persuaded Congress to issue a federal charter. Before the Red Cross existed, the U.S. War Department was the main responder to disaster in the country.
Between 1881 and 1904, Clara Barton devoted all her energy to Red Cross work. During this time frame, the organization provided relief in 21 national disasters, both in the U.S. and in foreign countries. Some of these included a forest fire in Michigan in 1881, heavy floods on the Ohio and Mississippi rivers, the Russian famine of 1892, a yellow fever epidemic in Florida, the Armenian massacres in 1896, and the devastating hurricane that affected Galveston, Texas in 1900.
As a leader of humanitarian causes, Clara Barton accepted no salary and even used her personal savings when needed. She was a leader in providing relief for areas that desperately needed it.
At the age of 83, after mounting criticisms of her management style, Clara Barton resigned as president of the Red Cross. After this, she organized the First Aid Association of America, which focused teaching the average citizen how to administer first aid to the sick and injured. The idea did not catch on, and 3 years later she was asked by her friend Edward Ho to join the National First Aid Association. Even without being the head of the organization, Clara Barton was able to influence the public. She lent her name to the group, became a spokesperson, and gave small sums of money.
She spent the rest of her years at her home in Glen Echo, Maryland. She continued to receive medals and honors from the leaders of Germany, Russia, Turkey, Serbia, and other countries. Clara Barton passed away on April 12, 1912, at the age of 90.
Clara Barton's leadership can be seen in the humanitarian causes she initiated. She led the way for free education in New Jersey, war relief effort during the Civil War, the founding of the Missing Soldiers Office, and the American branch of the Red Cross. She did not hesitate to involve herself in areas that were considered off-limits to women, and she added her voice to the women's suffrage. Barton dedicated her life to the betterment of human condition in wartime and peace. As a humanitarian, her legacy continues through the efforts of the American Red Cross, which helps millions of people each year.
She is quoted saying, "I have an almost complete disregard of precedent and a faith in the possibility of something better. It irritates me to be told how things have always been done. I defy the tyranny of precedent. I go for anything new that might improve the past."